Hi, today I want to show you how to put together the Apothecary bottle set from Simply Crafty SVGs. This is bottle 1. We're going to start with that. If you like this or other videos, please subscribe or like this video. So we're going to start with the body of bottle 1, and with each of these pieces there's a number that can be cut or written depending on what you want to do on each of the tabs. It won't be seen, it doesn't hinder the design. If you can't see them very well, refer to the PDF file and number them manually with a pencil. So that's number from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 are the same shapes. So I put them in stacks so I can go from left to right. So we're going to start from the left, and then you're just going to pull the first one, and then we'll do the next one to the right, next one, and then we'll start over again. So this would be the most helpful to do. And then we're just going to fold the pieces on the scores as shown. And to start, I always like to anchor the top tab. So we're going to line up that right edge with the tab fold, and then make sure it's aligned at the top as well. And once that's secure, we'll slowly from top to bottom, and you can start at the bottom too, but glue the tabs. And you can do 2 to 4 at a time, depends on how quickly your glue dries. And make sure you get excess glue off like that. But the reason we want to go from where you start, whether top to bottom, bottom to top, we want to line that edge to the tab fold and make sure it's not really sticking up at all. So you can kind of run your finger over it to make sure that you have that edge in the right place and it's aligned, and then continue to apply pressure going down. And then we'll do the next one. So we're going to do this with all 8 panels, and when we get to the 8th panel, we'll have to close it up, and I'll come back to you on that point. So you can go ahead and watch how this is put together in the meantime. Okay, so now we glued on that last panel. We have to glue it shut. So whenever you're doing anything round or anything like that, it is a little bit more difficult. So I kind of hold it apart with my fingers and then add glue either to all the tabs or some of the tabs. And I'm just showing you, sometimes it just takes a little bit to get it in the right position for your fingers. And I'm going to attach that first end tab first, and then I just need a little bit more glue because I was finagling with it a little bit too much. Then I'm just kind of push it in gently until that opposite edge is aligned. Again, I chose to show you that I had a little bit of struggle with this because not every design that's circular for me. It's not that this is different than any, but sometimes some days are worse than others when I put them together. So don't feel bad if it's difficult at first. Just start with a couple tabs and go from there. And then go ahead. This is where a fine tip applicator comes in handy. I'm going to add glue to those final 2 tabs. And then carefully attach them. They should be much easier now that I have those first 3 attached. So you just go ahead and make sure it's lined up, and just know this is always the hardest part of closing up like a round paper model. And then I reach in with the wooden chopstick to help get a little additional pressure behind the tabs. And just wipe away that excess glue. Then we can go on to the neck. So this is the neck piece. So I'm folding it on the score lines, and I'm folding, I fold the little tabs back a little bit too, and I'll show you why. So let's go ahead and glue this shut. So we're going to line that edge, the opposite edge to the tab fold. Make sure that's lined up. And then you can see I'm kind of folding those tabs backwards now. And that's because we're going to glue it on the inside of the top of the bottle. So I'm using, it's called popcorn chalk ink to give it a little bit of distressed look. I have a link to the information below. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to go into that small part at the top. You want to get it situated so you know how you're going to put it in. So go ahead, I'm going to glue 1 tab first. So you want to kind of push the tabs in. And then we're going to insert that 1 tab and align it to a side. So I'm kind of holding it. I have to reach in and make sure it's aligned. And then you're going to want to push it against the inside of the actual bottle and glue it to the inside of that bottle. I know I'm just kind of hesitating for a minute here. You just want to make sure it's good and secure before you fold it back like this. You get my temporary, I was never meant for videos, my stuttering. So I'm going to add glue to the rest of the tabs. If I were in person, I probably would do the same thing, but I lose words for whatever reason. So I always glue the opposite side first. So I'm gluing the opposite tab first from the one that I just glued. That just sets it in place, so it makes it easier for me to get the rest in the proper place. Just take it slow. If you have a little bit more of a slow drying glue, that's always helpful for these, so it doesn't just get stuck on one section and maybe it gets stuck wrong. Just be patient with yourself and just go around and glue each of the tabs to the inside, and that's what it will look like. Then we're going to add the bottom piece. So we're just going to anchor one side first. So I'm going to add glue to one of the tabs, and you just see how it goes before you glue a tab on, because it is different. It's shaped. It's, when you're looking at the front, it's wider than the depth. So make sure you're putting it on the right tab. And once you have it glued on, that just helps anchor it so you can glue the rest of them on. And that I'm just showing how to do it prior to putting glue on it. This is kind of it's one of those things where it will kind of move on you. The nice thing about paper, the good and bad thing about paper when you glue is that it moves. But that's the good thing, really, in this case. So we're adding glue to all the tabs. And I'm making sure they're good and wet so they don't dry before I get around. So I'm going to fold it down. And I'm going to start with that first left edge. And I'm going to line the edge of that bottom panel to the edge of the bottom of the bottle. Now you may have to move it around. So I'm kind of moving it around on my hands to get everything centered, because it's pliable. So as you get it in the right position, you want to start applying pressure along the tabs. This is, again, this is another place where a quick drying glue is not always the best, and that's why I wasn't using Aleene's tacky glue, but I was using actually art glitter glue for this particular project. And I didn't get it perfect, but it's good enough. And then you can apply additional pressure by rubbing it on the table. Now here's the cork. So we want to fold it. This is similar to the neck goes, but this will fit into the neck. So you want to make sure you fold it like it's shown on the score lines, and then we'll go ahead and fold it over and match up that opposite edge to the tab fold. And then you'll see we have the top and bottom panels attached already for the top and bottom of the cork. And you can do either side first, but it's the same concept as the bottom that we just closed up the bottle. We're just going to add glue to all the tabs and then fold it over and adjust. And you might want to go tab by tab. So at one point I determined that it's just better for me to stick my finger in and apply pressure as I went around, just because it's so small. I got a little glue on the side there. Nothing a little chalk ink won't hide. So we did that side, and we're going to do the top. You don't have the benefit of reaching in this time. So I'd say do the small side just as shown first, and then do the large side. The smaller side was harder than this large side. So this is similar. You just want to go around the edges as you get them matched up. Kind of size and move the body of the actual cork around until you get it aligned. And you see I'm kind of using the whole thing, and once I get it in place, I start applying pressure, because you can't get inside anymore, obviously, to apply pressure. So try to get it aligned, and then just apply pressure against the table to make sure it sticks good and well. And so that cork will fit in the top of the bottle. But before that, this is a great way to hide imperfections using chalk ink or chalks. So this is a dark brown color box chalk ink, and I'm trying to just kind of rough it up, give it a little more distressed look. So you see I'm adding a little bit more like it's a weathered. There's nothing really rocket science about chalking or inking. It's just whatever. I just like it. I make it rough. So you see how it fit in. So now we're going to add the panels. So we want to kind of curl the panels before we put them on. So that was me kind of curling them. So they kind of, we're getting the pre-curling them so it's easier to put on. Now those again are in order, just like the others. So make sure they fit in the area before you put them on. So just dry fit them. And you want to kind of, it has a little bit of an edge. It's not the same size of the panel. And I went out of view, so I had to explain it to you. So you can see how it kind of center it. But you want to start from the top to the bottom, but you don't want to line it completely to the top. You should have an edge around the panels. And these were embossed with a cracked embossing folder from Tim Holt's Alteration Sizzix collection. So I'll have a link below, or I'll have the information below. I may not have a link. I may too, but just make sure you're putting the right panel on the right area. So you just want to dry fit it first. Go from the top to the bottom and applying pressure. If you're using a thicker cardstock, you'll have to hold it longer and rub it a little bit longer to get it to stay. So you see I put them in order of the shapes, and then I'm putting them on in the order. So left to right, and then start over from left to right when I get to the far right. So these are all the ones that are on, and I actually did ink them with a popcorn chalk ink before I put them on. So I embossed them and then inked them. This was the last step. I had purchased this perfect Apothecary label, and I just placed it on there with double foam tape just to pop it up a little bit. And then that's what it looks like with the cork in. So we're going to move on to the next bottle. So this is bottle 2 of the set. So a little flatter, but it does have curves on the side. So we're going to fold it, as you can see. I kind of fold it up at the top, so you fold back and then up, so it's kind of a valley fold. And then it'll fit just like that on that side and the same on the other side. So I'm kind of curling it in the middle between the scores, and then folding them on the scores and folding the tabs back. These are the pieces just for the bottle itself. We're going to add glue to this tab, and then apply it inside. So you want to match up that top edge on the side edge to the tab fold of that little piece, and that's what it looks like. We'll do that the same on the other side. Because of the tabs on the side, I couldn't attach it in the file because we have those little tabs at the very bottom inside. I could have, but we would have had a gap there. And we're going to go ahead and add a couple panels first before we assemble the bottle. So this one is a Cuttlebug embossing folder from the Happy Haunted set. It was fun. It was perfect for this particular bottle. And I have one for the back as well. Then we'll put some on the sides, and we'll go from there. I'm going to explain where you might not want to put a panel that I did in this video. So for those that are listening to this, we'll get that benefit. Others won't. So I'm putting this long one. So those are okay because it's flat. It just makes it easier. You can put them on later if you want, but in my opinion, it makes it easier to put them onto a flat surface rather than a hard surface. So these little ones at the top, because it curves, it was just my mistake when I did this video, but because it curves, you might want to put those on last because it makes it harder for you to glue those sections on. So I'll put it, that's why I'm noting it on the screen. So you might want to keep those two small pieces because you're adding glue. It makes it stiffer, so it's harder to bend, and you need to bend those pieces. So with that said, let's go ahead and attach the back piece to that little tab. The tab is a little bit bigger on the final file than you see it, so we want to match up that bottom edge of that panel to the tab fold. Make sure it's good and secure. Then we're going to glue the sides. So we're going to fold up the bottom tabs and line up that bottom edge of the side piece to the tab fold. Just fold it over. and glue it to that little tab. So I just make sure that I reach in and apply pressure. I'm going to we're going to close up the back of the box by gluing the panels to these two tabs on the back, but we'll start one at a time so we can reach in. So just carefully align that back panel side to the tab fold, and my little handy dandy free wooden Chinese takeout chopstick comes in handy to apply pressure inside as you're holding it on the outside. And because there was not as much space, I used a fine tip applicator to reach in to apply the glue on the long tab there. Then the same, just once you get it in place, you can go ahead and apply additional pressure using a blunt tool like the chopstick I'm using. It's something you want to have on hand with. It's just a handy tool. It could be anything that's blunt and small. So now we're going to fold these tabs in. Now this gets, because I put the panel on first, it's a little bit stiffer than it should be. So it's going to curve. And that's the reason why we don't want to put the panel on, because now I've got glue underneath there. But we need to attach it so it curls around. And believe me, it's usually way easier. But because I put the panel on, you kind of want to pull it out at the same time. So as you can see, kind of folds over. So you want to glue those tabs around that edge, and then you'll fold back that top edge. That panel's larger than the rest, so you could do that first if that's helpful. So that should line up to the top of the bottle to make the bottleneck. And it kind of bows outwards too, towards out towards the front and back. So the key here is, if it's really difficult, what I do is add glue and then you can line up the top neck part first and then reach in and guide the tabs around. But again, that was just my mistake because I put a thick cardboard over a thick cardboard. Again, making it not as pliable. So live and learn. It's something I don't like to put in a video, but I might as well show you my mistakes as well. And here's another method of gluing. If you want to do a couple tabs on each side, that sometimes helps going around curves like this, especially if you put the panel on first. So I'm doing about 3 tabs at a time on one side, and then I'll flip it over and do the other 3 tabs, and then finish off gluing the neck. So this is, I already did the other side. We'll just finish putting it together. The key is to make sure that the neck lines up at the top, and then try to get the curl around the edge as much as you can. It really doesn't take away too much from it. I didn't match it up exactly, but the look's the same. And if you use a less stiff section like I did, then you'll be fine. So that completes the box portion. And then I'm going to just ink the neck a little bit and the edges. And this is great for 2 things. It gives a distressed look, but on the other part of it, it actually will hide imperfections, or even if you have a little glue leakage, stuff like that will be hidden. As you know, there really aren't any mistakes in crafting, right? So now we have this little kind of a, what is it, a square? It's almost a square. It's a square shape-ish. What is that, trapezoid? Can't remember. But anyways, we're going to do the top larger section first. So you're just going to fold that over, aligning the edges to the tab fold. You can see pretty much how it's going to go together, even without my fun and detailed commentary. And then we'll just fold over the next section after this, and then fold over the back. Now, if the piece looks a little bit weird, it's because I found out that part of mine, the cork was a little bit longer than it should be on the bottom panel, but I fixed that. I just didn't redo the video, but that panel there is too long. So that is fixed after this. So ignore that last panel. It is the right size in your file. I just did not re-videotape the process. I ended up, here's the last part of it. I ended up fixing it, and so you just fold it over. I could hide it with creative video editing, but why not tell you that I messed up? But it was just a little bit long. So now that just folds over, and like other panels we've done, you just kind of fold it over, match it up the edges, and apply pressure. And then, as with the first cork on bottle 1, we're going to give it a little distress look. It only fits in one way, so just so you know, if it doesn't go in one way, it goes in the other way. And then we'll distress it with a little chalk ink, with the dark brown chalk ink again. And I just wanted to show you how it went in. Just like I said, there's no rhyme or reason to inking. Sometimes it just is what it is. And that's it. And like with the last one, we're going to add a little label, Apothecary label. And I'll have a link to where I purchased these. No, I didn't make them myself. So that completes the second bottle, and I hope you enjoyed this project. Please like our video if you did, and thank you for watching.